I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again and again and again and again and again until somebody realizes what needs to be done here. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to remind you of something which is something that you do not want to understand. When I mean you, it's not you, but to the legal commentators, the conservative types, the legal folks who are hired to speak juridically. Fani Willis has not committed conflict of interest. Let me say this again. You've got it all wrong. Fani Willis has not committed, is not the subject of, is not guilty of conflict of interest. She should not be removed for conflict of interest under Georgia law. Let me say this again. And there are a lot of people out there, and I'm not going to ever call anybody out. God bless them. They're doing the best they can. But there are some lawyers who are missing the point. And as a lawyer, you're only given the facts of the case. And I always give this as an example. If you want me to go after somebody, pick somebody, name somebody, somebody you hate, somebody you loathe, and somebody charges them with arson, and there was no fire involved, I'm going to say they're not guilty of arson. They might be guilty of something else. Fani Willis should not be removed for conflict of interest. That's all they had at first. It stuck. This is before they found out about the perjury, obstruction of justice, tampering with a witness, and a host of other issues that they did not know about. Let me say this again, and there's one in particular, one person whenever I speak to, I'm not going to mention his name, but I always think about this absolute certitude. And I would love not to debate for purposes of the debate, but to teach, because I want her crushed. I'm on your side. You probably despise Fani Willis. You probably despise her, right? Right? Yes, I do too. She is to me what is wrong with our country, what is wrong with our world. She is the most vile and contemptuous of human beings, much less prosecutors. She's an absolute disgrace to the profession, disgrace to the prosecutor. You have no idea the great men and women I served with and who are prosecutors now. Great people. It's just like the way the FBI gets smeared because of, Struck and whatever her name is. It just drives me crazy because we don't know issue analysis. We don't know how to focus on this thing specifically, microscopically, and not broad brush. Do I make myself clear? I'm going to tell you how she can be removed. I can tell you what we can do to get this thing quashed. But once and for all, abandon this stupidity of conflict of interest. And when you point out an example of wrongdoing, don't say, aha, she lied about the trips. Conflict of interest. No, she lied about the trips. Might be perjury. Perjury is not conflict of interest. Obstruction of justice is not conflict of interest. I'm going to explain this because I want you to be smarter and better and wiser. And I want this channel to stand for something called the truth. But first, dear friends, this incredible word from our incredible sponsor, MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Well, it is time yet again, my friends, to hail and salute our great friends at MyPillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you'll get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know, a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But first, please listen. What are we talking about here? Down comforters, flannel sheets, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Pillow 2.0 sheets, slippers, percales, towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, name it. Literally name it. Items to help you luxuriate and relax. And they're monster sellers. Slippers, my slippers. That's right, slip-ons, moccasins. Think about it. What do they do at My Pillow? They make things real soft and plush and comfy. How perfect. Now, here's the link. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel, or MyPillow.com/Solidus or Virgil /Lionel, or call 800-645-4965. And watch how fast Mike answers the phone. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel, simply and absolutely the best. Okay, my friends, I want you to bear with me on this one. And this is still so interesting because there's a lot to what we've done. I've spent time with you pointing out wonderful facts of the case. I think interesting kind of titillating moments of sexual debauchery, and we laugh at Fani because she's so, she's this and that, and that's fun. That has nothing to do with a legal reason. Nothing to do with a legal reason. When the case first started, and when Ashley Merchant filed her motion to exclude, dismiss, that was a good one. Listen, in the legal biz and in life, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. So in every motion, you make sure you ask for something. And dismissal of all charges and a $1 million cash prize. What? Ask for it. Okay. So listen, follow me right now. And if ever I say anything, please, dear friends, this is a live feed, unlike others. I want you to talk to me. Get my attention, because I don't want to sit here and there's nothing worse than somebody who reads, Hi, John. Hi, John. You ever see these live feeds? They're horrible. Because you're thinking, hey, I'm over here. I'm watching this in a car. And people are reading the feed. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Tuesday. What's it, Tuesday? Monday. Wait. Mom was about, whatever happened to Michelle Phillip? No, I don't want to do that. So get my attention. If you have any questions, because I want you to understand that this is for you. This is for you so you understand this. When Ashley Merchant first started this, they had no idea. They said, okay, hey, here's something. Conflict of interest. That's all we have. Conflict of interest. Weak. But let's see what happens. And one of the things in life, my friends, you don't know. When you have nothing to fear, go to trial. When all is said and done, go to trial. You never know what's going to happen. There's never the jury that, I know exactly what the jury's going to do. No, you don't. I know exactly what you better watch it, buddy, or we're going to go to trial. Okay. Because things go weird. They go south so fast. A juror gets sick. Somebody doesn't show up. They change their testimony. They forget. Or you realize that this is the worst witness possible. This is the worst witness possible. There have been people who have ruined their case in civil fora in particular, because they're so obnoxious. They're so terrible. They're so awful. They have no jury appeal. They've got a case, but you're going to say, oh my God, the jury is going to hate this. And you try your best to keep your client out of depositions, which you can't. And once the other side gets a hold of them and says, oh my God, this guy's a jerk. Let's go to trial. Wait till they get a hold of this. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the trial law part. Remember, there's different parts of this. The trial lawyer part, when you get in front of a jury, good luck. Good luck. You are in quantum mechanics world. You are in a parallel universe. You're in a world where you just don't know. This is mob theory. This is group theory. This is crowd theory. This is everything. Wait until you see. I've spent so much time watching. I used to sometimes when time off, I would go to the jury pool, the venire, on cases I knew I wasn't, and just listen. Just listen. Learn the process. See where they show up. Understand. I'll bet you there are lawyers who've never even been. They don't even know where the jury pool is. They don't know who the officers were, the guys who were doing it. You always take them to lunch. Tell me something. What have you known? Sam, what have you seen? Who's really good? Talk to people who've been doing this forever. If your son or daughter gets arrested, and you want to find out who the best lawyer is, who the best, and you have the time, find out who the judge is. I'm sorry. Go to the clerk. Mrs. Mandelbaum, yes. Excuse me. How long have you been the clerk? And the clerk there's the clerk, judicial assistant, probation officer, the bailiffs, court officers. You want somebody who sits, how long have you been before Judge Esrick here? Oh, 25 years. If you got in trouble, or your daughter got in trouble, or your son, whom would you call? Oh, Jack Lefevre. Absolutely. That's the one you want. Talk to the person who knows the people involved in it. That's what you want. That's the guy. You want the lawyer who walks in and says, "Morning, Jack. Terry, how are you? How's that leg? Are you okay? My best to say." I want that guy. I love that guy. I love the one who oh God, always try to go for, this is the best. If you don't know what to do, look for somebody in your court, in your jurisdiction, who is with the Bar Association, who is a member of the judicial nominating, somebody who was in the JQC, judicial qualifications, the person who picks the judges, the person who nominates the judges, the person who is the head of, let's say your son or your daughter needs a divorce. I've done this before. Go to that county, find out their local bar association, who's in charge of the family law division, who's board certified in family law, learn that there's so much you can do. I want somebody who's been doing this a million years, but specifically somebody who tells me the reality. Gino says there are 6 conflicts, as the attorneys are claiming. I do not believe a conflict of interest is one of them. Money, church speech, a wife, time of relationship, book, and Wade not approved by the county. Absolutely. 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 None of this applies. So here is the story. This is, and let me make it even more simple for you, because I have been reading this thing repeatedly to the point of exhaustion, and I find it interesting. 3 main reasons. The alleged, I don't even think it's alleged at this point, but the putative romantic relationship between Willis and Wade. Is that a conflict of interest? No. They can get married. A wife can hire her husband. No. The alleged romantic relationship, that's not a conflict of interest. Number 1. Number 2, financial compensation that Nathan received as a special prosecutor. No. What do you think that is? Here you go. No. That's not a conflict of interest. And the travel that Willis and Wade made together, paid for by Wade, because, and this is the weirdest, because Wade made his money through what? No. Jury's not going to hear this. What does this have to do with this? And Gino, you've got it right. Now you're thinking, see, I want you on my team, Gino. That's exactly what I want you to think. That's exactly the way to think. Remember, I was telling you before, there's the law part. There's the trial part. Jury's not going to hear about this. Jury's not going to know about this. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? Nothing. Nothing. Let's look at the law. 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 Look at Williams against State. 258 Georgia 305, 1988 case. I think it's a Supreme Court case. There are two generally recognized grounds for disqualification of a prosecuting attorney. The first such ground is based on conflict of interest, and the second ground has been described as forensic misconduct. That's not the case here. Actively throwing something, lying, destroying evidence. No. A conflict of interest is defined when a prosecutor, Gino, listen, when a prosecutor has acquired a personal interest or stake in the defendant's conviction. Stated again, a conflict of interest requires more than a theoretical speculative conflict. An actual conflict of interest must be resolved. That's a very, very, very important case. That's Ventura, 346 Georgia App 309, 2018 case, citing Whitworth. So there's all these wonderful little cases that whenever you see the numbers, whenever you see 258 Georgia 305, that's a Georgia case. Used to be, we used to always have Southern Second, West. I'll bet you none of these people have even gone to a book anymore. I'll bet you most people today don't even know where to go to a book. Volume 258, page 305. You look at the particular court. Is this an appellate court? Is this a state? Is this we used to? I'm from the old school. Shepherdize it. Take a case. Has it been overruled? Anybody else cite it? It's done for you automatically. LexisNexis changed all that stuff. Okay, so that's the way. Let me tell you what happens. This is the most important issue right now. Listen to me carefully. Let me give you by example a law. And the perfect example, because you're asking, because Gino, I know what Gino is asking. Gino, by the way, Gino has said, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's going on here? And Raul says, if Fani is indicted for perjury, will she develop the Sicilian flu? Oh, very good. Well, put it this way. If she does, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Now, let's look at this. Raul and Gino, listen to this carefully. And you as well, dear friend. Okay? In the case of this was in 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis did one of the best things ever. He suspended Supreme Court, state prosecutor, state attorney. This is where I was. It was my Hillsborough County, 13th Judicial Circuit. His name was Andrew Warren. Okay. And what happened was he suspended him. Now listen to this carefully. The governor of Florida, by analogy, this isn't Georgia, but by analogy, has the authority under the Florida Constitution, as an example, to suspend state officials for reasons of malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, drunkenness, incompetence, permanent inability to perform official duties, or commission of a felony. The governor has further authority to fill that office by appointment for the duration of the suspension. You hear what happened? That's what we want. Brian Kemp, Republican. Think he's got the balls to do this? I hope so. I got some. Now, there was a case, and this one, I'm not going to go through this, but this Warren made a statement that he was not going to prosecute certain cases of either abortion or trans or whatever it is. I'm not going to waste my time with this. The point is, he went specifically to do that. He was specific. He said, I'm not going to do this. So Governor DeSantis says, all right, if that's the way it's going to be, then I am going to suspend you. That's it. And that's what Brian Kemp needs to do. You need to remove her. Stop this nonsense about conflict of interest. Stop it. Nobody cares about conflict of interest. That's not it. That's of no interest to anyone. No one cares about conflict of interest. Move on. Go elsewhere. You can do it. Get rid of her. Now, it would be important if we had a little bit of something other than my word that she committed perjury, other than my word that she committed obstruction of justice, that she threatened a witness, tampered with a witness. It would be more important if I did it, if I'm other than my word. But that's where we're going, not this. I don't know where we're and we have these people, commentators, whatever, go, see, they're absolutely correct. She had this. It's absolute. You see, she had this. They went on a trip. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they went on a trip. What difference does it make? None of it makes any difference. None. Now, here's a case I want you to listen to. This is important. This is really, 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 really important, okay? Okay. I want you to hear this. Okay, here we go. Now, listen to me. This was an actual conflict of interest case where Fani was kept off. Listen to the difference between this. This was a judge Robert C.I. McBurney. I love when you have two middle names. Judge McBurney ruled and held that Fani Willis, was disqualified from the prosecution of Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Well, this is interesting. This is the analogy, okay? Burt Jones, due to narrow circumstances and facts involving the political relationship between Fani Willis and Mr. Jones. Now, at the time of the motion, Jones was a target. Remember I told you about Supreme Court, special Supreme Court. You got witnesses, subjects, and target. He was a target of a special purpose grand jury into the facts of the case. Okay. Jones, who was a state senator, was also the Republican nominee in the 2022 general election for lieutenant governor. Now, Fani had publicly endorsed and held a high-profile fundraiser for his opponent. You know what I'm saying? For his opponent. And that was Charles Bailey, the Democrat. Let me set it up again. She's targeted Jones by a grand jury. At the same time, she's supporting and through a fundraiser for his opponent, for lieutenant governor. In that particular case, they said, yep, that is a conflict. Fani Willis publicly endorsed him, held a fundraiser, and McBurney, the judge, determined that Willis's support for Mr. Bailey gave rise to a conflict of interest, that warranted immediate disqualification. He explained, quote, any effort to treat Mr. Jones differently from the others, even if justified, will promptly, entirely, reasonably raise concerns of political motivated prosecution. Okay, so it's been done before. Do you see that? That's a conflict of interest. You're prosecuting somebody. You're prosecuting the person. You're prosecuting the person whose opponent you're supporting. Do you have a stake in the prosecution? Yes. Because if you can convict this person, your guy wins. If you can convict, this is a no-brainer. That's a conflict of interest. Not this. And I see this over and over. And I don't blame the defense. They're throwing everything at the case. They're going, if I were McAfee's clerk or whatever, I'd say, counsel, stop this. Tell me where there's a conflict of interest. How does she have a stake in the outcome of this? How? How? So please do me a favor. Stop with this conflict of interest business. Just stop it. Because what do you think they're saying right now? What do you think they're saying in the Fani Willis world? What do you think they're saying? What do you think they're actually thinking? Tell me. What do you think they're thinking? And by the way, I got to ask you something right now. And I say this to you because I love you. A recent statistic among YouTubers said that like 50% or 60 or whatever, some ridiculous number of the people who watch on a regular basis don't subscribe. The thing that makes our message worthwhile, the only metric that people care about are subscriptions. That's it. I can come on and go, but if you got 1 million viewers, you go, wow, he's got a point. What? This is gibberish. I know, but he's got 1 million viewers. So if you have not, I'm asking you. And by the way, there's one thing about YouTube. You really have to lose any kind of self-respect you have. You got to beg, please like my videos, please like them, please. But I ask you, please subscribe. I know it's like one of those things where, and I know you're going, well, do I want to subscribe? I don't know, because then I'm going to, I'll like it, but I don't want to subscribe. No, please subscribe to this. I know it's absolutely the most, I mean, it's demeaning, but it's the way it goes. When in Rome, my friends. Okay. Just had to say that. Now, what needs to be done is we need to get Kemp. Then I want to line everybody up. I want to be a member of their team. I want to say, Katie, now listen to me and listen good. Okay? Listen to me. Number one, listen good. What do we want? Let me ask you, my friends, what is it that we want? Everybody here, what's our ultimate goal? What is it? Tell me what the goal is. Very good. One sentence. What's the ultimate goal? What do we want? What do we really want here? What do we want? Tell me what we want. What's the goal? What's the desire? Tell me. When Trump reelected. When Trump reelected. That's my main thing. I don't want the case dismissed and then Trump not reelected. I know you might say, that's kind of a trick question because Georgia can't, but I want Trump reelected. I just want you to understand this. I was talking to a person yesterday. We were driving to an event and they said, well, are you a Trump fan? I said, no, I'm not a Trump fan, but I want him reelected. Do you like Trump? I don't know if I like him, but I want him reelected. Oh, well, but do you like Trump? It's nothing to do with whether I like him or not. I want him reelected. So that's my goal. That's number one. Now, next, what would you really like with this case? And one absolutely said, you want the case dismissed. Now, someone wrote, very interesting, Fani in jail. Do you want Fani in jail and the case not dismissed? Do you want Fani in jail and the president convicted? What do you want? I'm asking you. I'm your genie in the bottle, and I'm asking you, what do you want? Remember, whenever somebody grants you a wish, your first wish is 1,000 more wishes. That's the rule that is. But here's the bottom line. What is it that you want? You want the case dismissed? Yeah, that'd be good. You want to dismiss with prejudice. You don't want it brought up again. You don't want somebody else to do it. So do you want it? Do you want the case reassigned? Do you really want Fani Willis disqualified? Do you want this incompetent idiot disqualified? To be replaced? That the prosecuting attorney, somebody who's assigned to say, give it to Chatworth. Hey, he's good. Yeah, he hates Trump and he's terrific. do that. He's as clean as a houndstooth. Yeah, okay. We got you. Okay, thank you, Ash. And by the way, we're going to send you as far from here as possible. We're going to send you to North Georgia or South. I don't even know where else. Anyway, do you really want disqualification? Do you really want this to go someplace else? Do you really want this to go to some other person, some other guy, some other area, some other person who really is so much better? Oh, no. Do you really want that? I don't know about that. So ask yourself, what is it that you really want? What is it that you really want? What is it? That's the thing that I really want. What is it? That's the thing which I really want. First and foremost, I want a lot of stuff. I want this case to go away permanently. I don't want it to be kind of reassigned and then cleaned up and picked up no, that's not it. Next, you ought to understand that there is a certain timing. If this case is scheduled for, look, this thing is for all practical purposes. Maybe it may be dead in the water. I don't know. But I don't want this tried in 6 months. I want this thing to be tried, let's say 3 years from now, and then nobody will care. Because let me tell you something right now. This judge, you may laugh all you want. This judge is going to be really known. He's going to be known in the business. Somebody he had the guts and the C.O. Jones to do this. It takes guts to say you have not proved based upon the standards set forth. You have not done it. There's no conflict of interest. None. And people are going to go crazy and they're going to say, but wait a minute. What about the receipts? What about the cash? It's like that has nothing to do with it because, again, that's where people don't understand the law. The issue has nothing to do with this. The issue has nothing to do with what, okay, fine. So what do we really want? What really needs to be done, and this is if Kemp really, but it only can be done it can be done in a few circumstances. We need to remove her, but there needs to be an investigation. Call the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI. This is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. I don't think FBI is going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it. But bring the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and have them review, because there's always concomitant jurisdiction between state and federal. Whatever the feds can do, states can usually do too in their own way. I want you to open an investigation into witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and perjury against her, against Nathan Wade, against Terrence Bradley, against Key and other members of the district attorney's office, so that later on, and I'm assuming Georgia has a similar statute, so that Governor Kemp can find misfeasance, malfeasance, neglect of duty, incompetence, permanent inability to perform official duties, or the commission of a felony. Now, you don't have to have a felony adjudicated. You don't have to have a felony proved. You don't have to have the felony pled to. Because let me ask you the question, and Gino, you brought it up before as well. Let's assume that Fani Willis were accused right now of plagiarism. Right now. And because everybody loves plagiarism. What do you think? Would that mean that she would have to be removed from duty? Yes or no? Yes or no? Do you think so? What do you think about that? Do you think right now, it just saw in a 20 article that she wrote, it's plagiarized. Is that a conflict of interest? No. That's allegation of wrongdoing. That's an allegation of malfeasance. But does that create no, it doesn't create a conflict of interest. Let's assume that she's charged with armed robbery. Now, Is that a conflict of interest? No. It's also not arson, but it might be the grounds for removal and the complete and total destruction of her political career, because the Democrats will say she's too radioactive. And Kemp has this opportunity. So now, I would hope, and remember one thing, remember these rules, my friend. Remember, the Democrats are not the Republicans are not as vicious as the Democrats. They're not. They're not. The Republicans, if this were switched, if this was a Republican, I promise you, you would have had teams of special, almost like special actors flying in to do the dirty work for all these folks. This is what would happen. If this were anybody else, listen to me very carefully. If this were a Republican, you would see people coming in. You would have teams all of a sudden at some La Quinta off at the airport, coming in and working overtime, handing briefs, do this, do that. It's like you would have had your legal ninjas there. Rick M says, on the subject of subscribing, I find I am unsubscribed every time I watch Lionel Nation. I have to resubscribe every morning, but it is short-lived. That is the weirdest thing I have ever seen in my life. And you know what, Rick, and I thank you for that. I have seen that before. I have seen this. I've not seen this. I've heard of this. It's a fascinating trade. But I thank you for this. I thank you immensely. And let me remind you that sometimes check to see if you're subscribed. And also so that you know what's going on, so that you know what we're doing. But thank you for that, sir. So let's go back and let's recap this. I don't understand why, and this is important. I don't know why people sometimes say, like, why do doctors say things that are so like, why sometimes do I hear this? This cardiac surgeon says, never ever eat this for breakfast or you'll die. He's like, why are you saying that? To get clicks. To get clicks. What? Do you really mean that? Nah, I don't really mean that. But so why do you say that? Well, I don't know. I just say it. So when you have lawyers out there who are saying that there's a government and it's definite because they had sex and Terrence Bradley, this is not conflict of interest. This is not conflict of, and I know it sounds crazy. So let's go through what needs to be done. I don't think if the FBI does it, great. If some type of independent judicial committee, great if they do it. But number one, you have to investigate her for perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, threatening people, you name it. That's number one. And Nathan Wade and Terrence Bradley and everybody. Number one, set up a prima facie case. Number two, the governor of Kemp has to move in and do the right thing and have the balls to do this. Remove her. Remove her right away using your authority. Remove her. It's that simple. The guts that would take. I don't know if anybody has anymore. I would love to. Say what you want about Ron DeSantis. Say what you want about Ron DeSantis. Say what you want about Ron DeSantis and this and that. But Ron DeSantis went in, and there was this Soros-backed prosecutor who basically said, I'm not going to prosecute certain cases. And he said, really? Yeah, you're out of here. I'm going to suspend you. Clapton, thank you so much, Clapton. Appreciate that. It's the truth. It's the most incredible thing in the world. How did this thing happen? I'm trying to read this. You got to read this. You got to read this. This is so good. This is so terrific. When he could not believe. I got to read this. I want you to read this in particular. And by the way, this fellow, Warren, let me show you how these people are. Oh, here we go. In 2022, Ron DeSantis, the governor, accused Andrew Warren, the prosecutor for Hillsborough County, Tampa, that area, of ignoring his duty to enforce state laws. In his suspension order, the governor DeSantis cited a pair of public statements that Warren signed with other law enforcement leaders across the nation, pledging not to prosecute cases involving abortion or transgender health care. Ron DeSantis also cited Warren's policies that advised the assistant state attorneys in his office to refrain from prosecuting specific low-level nonviolent crimes in certain circumstances. Let me explain this to you. This is the most important. And this is what's really, really important. I really like this. What do you do when a prosecutor doesn't prosecute somebody he should? Let me ask you a question. You're in your county, your state, whatever it is, and you've got a prosecutor, and this prosecutor sees someone and you say there's a murder, and he doesn't prosecute him. He lets the time limitations run by, speedy trial, whatever it is, statute of limitations, and the case is, what do you do? It's one of the hardest questions to ask. How do you force a prosecutor? Like we have Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg just lowered, I don't know how many very serious violent felonies. How does he do that? How do you do this? The answer is we don't know. There's not a clear-cut answer because normally prosecutors are like bulldogs. You can't stop them. Normally, you don't have a guy or a gal who runs for office and doesn't do the job they're hired to do. You just don't do it. Normally, with a prosecutor, you got to say, whoa, take it easy. Not today. Because of Soros, because of this restorative justice, because of people who are listen to what I'm saying, who are part of a concerted effort to destroy our law enforcement. You don't see this until now. Now, in the case of Fani says, well, I'm prosecuting. No, you're prosecuting President Trump and others because of lawfare. You are doing this specifically. You are, and we mentioned this last night, and for those of you who do not know what this term lawfare is a portmanteau, a combination of law and warfare, referring to the strategy of using legal systems and mechanisms to achieve a military or political objective. And this can involve filing frivolous lawsuits or actually using correct cases. Do you know that believe me when I'm telling you this, in addition to whatever military operations Israel may have used, believe me, there was a portion of their attack that involved allegations of legal reasons, laws, real property, who owns what, their own version of common law. So the law itself is in addition to, warfare and the like. So let's go through this again. Governor Kemp, it's up to you. Find that there's been some kind of misfeasance, malfeasance, incompetence, dereliction, whatever it is. Find that there's been a commission of a felony. Do it. Preferably you have somebody from the GBI or somebody to say, yep, that's it, all right. Yep. Preferably you'll have a judicial, maybe some type of, remember, there's the judge can find the person that committed perjury or some type of malpractice, malfeasance. There's the law enforcement can do it. There's the state, the Bar Association. You can have multiple people to at least create the threshold opportunity, the threshold allegation of a felony, and then she's removed immediately. And it will cause a shitstorm, pardon my French, which I love. What is important is Kemp will forever be the hero of Republican politics. Say what you want about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is the only person who has the guts to do that. Stand by, my dear friends, for 1 second. Stand by. I've been receiving so many great pieces of mail and from you on the side. Believe it or not, who said, that you kind of intrigued my interest about this emergency food. Where do I get this? It's very simple. Very simple. It's right here. It's called My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply. And the link is preparewithlionel.com. Listen to this. Let's talk about a very serious subject, emergency food. That's right, emergency food. I know. At first blush, it's difficult for most people to think about something that they just take for granted, ever reaching emergency status. We're used to stores always being open, deliveries always made, no supply chain disasters, no ransomware catastrophes, none of that stuff. Nothing shutting down our gas stations, right? No trucking strikes, no war, no protests from farmers, nothing catastrophic in terms of weather. Nope, that can't happen to us. And I understand it's a defense mechanism that we have because the idea of ever not being able to eat or locate food is seemingly incomprehensible. Well, it's not. That's why it's time for you to go to my site, preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com has the deal of deals for you. Now take it as a starter set. You've been putting off emergency food for too long. Some people still have a thing about prepping as though preparing for emergency is foolish. Now, right now, you can save $60 on a 4-week emergency supply kit. This is unbelievable. 16 varieties with a 25-year shelf life, 2,000 calories a day in 2 beautifully modular buckets that weigh 38 pounds total. These are waterproof and they're perfectly stackable. 4 weeks, a month. Now, be honest, could you go a week without any trips to any store? I'm not talking about having stuff in your cabinet. I'm not talking about banana chips and jerky. I mean food, real food. So go right now to preparewithlionel.com, right now, right this moment, preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. You'll thank me, trust me. Now, my friends, understand a couple of things here. This is really important, really critical. It's something which I want to make sure you understand totally and fully and without exception. Number one. I do not fancifully say things because I want things to be. I think very specifically that I am a lawyer and I have the Constitution and I have the rules and I have something. Now, every single thing that was done against President Trump, for the most part, could have been done. It's not illegal, but there's this thing called discretion. Let me explain this to you. The most important part of what prosecutors have, discretion. In a very minor example. They gave me a case one time where they arrested a person for retail theft, grand theft, over $300. And I looked at it, and what did he steal? Pampers. There's a lot. Pampers, baby formula. No, not beer, not cigarettes. Baby formula, baby food. I said, and I remember walking in there and said, "Here, you prosecute this. I don't want this. I've got to go in there and say, have I sought justice? What does justice mean? Please answer my question. What does justice mean? How do you define justice? This is the part which I don't even understand. What does that mean? People who were treated equitably and fair. Is that it? Is it about people being treated fairly or seeking a result? What is it? When you have had something happen to you or your family, you want justice. What does justice mean? Getting that person. Justice, is it Schadenfreude? Not really. Call it closure. Can you think of it? What does this mean? Marjorie says, I have to subscribe every day. Interesting. Breaking of the 10 Commandments. Well, John, I don't know, because the breaking of the 10 Commandments, a lot of the Ten Commandments sometimes don't necessarily deal with, a lot of them are religious based. Honor the Sabbath, honor thy mother and thy father, and never use the name of the Lord thy God in vain. No, whatever it is. Okay, recompense, a fair resolution. What is a recompense? What does that even mean? What does that mean? You've lost a leg. You've lost a leg in an accident. What does that mean? What is just? I don't even know what that means. Sparky says prosecutors and judges nowadays don't want to spend the money on or clog up the docket with low-profile cases, which involve working-class victims. They tell law enforcement not to bother investigating. You know, Sparky? There was a case one time. I remember, where I had I don't want to go too much into it, but I was kind of representing one. It was like a husband and wife, and the wife was accused of killing the husband with a knife. And I said, I remember I called the house of the wife. She answers the phone. It was the weird, and I'll never forget it. I don't want to tell you how she sounded because I will get accused of all kinds of things, but it was the most terse thing. And it basically was, that was it. Is Henry? Henry dead? Did they charge you? Did they arrest you? What? And I remember talking to somebody, and I'm not actively seeking her. I mean, it was a weird case. It had nothing to do with criminal case. I remember talking to somebody who was a detective, and he jokingly said, misdemeanor murder. So what does misdemeanor murder mean? I mean, sometimes, and Sparky, you're onto something here. Sometimes there are people whose murders and death, they're just, like, for example, an armed robber shot maybe incorrectly by somebody who theoretically did not follow the law of the land. Should you prosecute this person for killing some dirtbag, scumbag, pond scum, waste of flesh? It shouldn't matter, but do they? No. Thank you for saving us. I'm serious. Nobody will say it. Nobody will follow up on this. There's no story. Nobody says misdemeanor murder. What's that? Why wasn't this person ever charged? I don't know. Because people can't say, because these people are lowlifes. They're scum. And nobody cares about them. And frankly, I'm not losing any sleep. That was the strangest thing. Sorry about that. John says, justice keeps the ID in check and the superego on notice. It's very interesting. I don't know what justice means. I don't know what that means. I do not know what it means. I can't tell you. I have no idea what it means. But you know what I can tell you? You know what I can tell you, John? I can tell you when there's no justice. I can tell you when there's no justice. I can tell you when there is no justice. Let me give you an example of something. Listen to me carefully. This is very important. Kaylee Anthony. Remember Kaylee Anthony? Casey Anthony was the mother. Kaylee Anthony was the kid. Everybody knows mother killed this one, right? Everybody said she killed this kid. And they found a skull, and the cadaver dogs marked as that there was something in the back of the trunk. Could have been a dead body or DNA or something was there, or blah blah blah. Was there justice in that case? Was there justice? You know the case I'm talking about, Casey Anthony. Remember that? The answer is, was there justice? Was there justice? And I was in a TV show, TV network channel at the time, and I said, Well, tell me, you want to prove guilty? What is it? She killed her. How come she was out dancing? How come when the kid was missing, the mother was out dancing? Why was she out dancing? So what the hell does that have to do with anything? You know she did it. That's not the way a mother acts. Okay, maybe not. Now I've got to prove to the jury beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that the mother killed these kids. What do I have? She was out dancing. I can't have that. That's not evidence of something. That's evidence inconsistent with something. That's not evidence of anything. You were out. What if somebody said, ha, 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 ha. That's the way you reacted? Who is he? He's a crazy person. He does all the time. Yeah, but he laughed when I brought up the murder. Let's charge him because that's not the way an innocent person. What? Wait a minute. What? What are you talking about? They found a skull. They found a skull. Where's my anyway? They found a skull. It's the baby skull. It's Kaylee Anthony's skull. Is there any evidence of? There wasn't even evidence of anything wrong. Remember Nash, N-A-S-H, actually found natural accidental suicide homicide. There was no evidence of anything. It was there was no homicide. There was no bullet hole in it. There was no accident. There's no suicide. It's a baby. Homicide. There's no evidence of anything. How am I going to prove? I got to prove a homicide. Murder is the intentional. Murder is a person did this. You can't charge somebody with murder if it's an accidental death. How do I prove this? Tell me how I prove this. What do I do? By the way, there's a way of proving the cause of death. Very interesting, which they did not do. What do you do when you have a skull? What do you do when you have a skull? There's a way of looking for diatoms, little algae-like unicellular microscopic little diatomic things. Sometimes when a person has been immersed in a pond or a muck or some whatever, sometimes these diatoms, these algae-like microscopic little things will be absorbed into the bone, the skull. And if you really know what you're looking for, you can find diatoms and diatomic. They didn't do that. But even that proves, okay, drowning. I said, you can't prove anything. You can't charge her. So is that justice? Yes, because if you had charged her and convicted her of murder, that would have been a miscarriage of justice. But you hate her. So what? True or false? Human beings are really not the best judge of guilt and innocence. They want getting the person. I saw something last night or the day before, and I realized this. And I see it all the time. I've heard it all the time. And it was this Arthel Neville or something, I think her name is. She was on Fox. It was on my iPad. It was on they're talking about Fani Willis like they love her. Like they're not going to. And they were almost saying like they're not going to. She's not guilty of anything. Well, I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. She's not guilty of this. I can't stand her. But you asked me a question. Can I prove this? Is she guilty of this? The answer is no, she's not. Not whether I like her or not. I'm a lawyer by profession. I swore all my true proof. That's all I've got. If you can prove it, great. If you can't, so be it. Remember, if you charge somebody with arson, you've got to find them not guilty. People can't do this because we hate these people. And that's what makes me so mad. They hate President Trump. They hate him. So Governor Kemp, the answer is simply this. You've got to come forward and you've got to act quickly. Get rid of her now. Depending upon I'll do some research because there's this bill in Georgia that they're playing around with. And it's this one that says a Georgia Senate bill passes to discipline prosecutors. It's like, you didn't have. I know you want to see her because she's so obnoxious. She's not going anywhere after this. She is radioactive. You do know that, right? Her punishment will be she is radioactive. Nobody will touch her. There's so much, if it's because she's a woman or she's black or she's whatever, there's so much great talent out there. They don't need this. So let me ask you this question, dear friends. Thank you for this. John Jelaine says, justice keeps the ID in check and the superego on notice. I love that one. Sparky, thank you. John, thank you. Clapton, thank you. Rick M. Raul Rodriguez, and our good buddy, he goes by the name of Gino. That's the only thing he goes by, just Gino. Nothing special, nothing important, nothing. Gino. That's all you need to know. That's it. Now, dear friends, let me also ask you something. You have been so terrific, and I mean this sincerely. Mrs. L has been yesterday in the rain. In the rain. I went, because I insisted upon this. I mean, don't you driving around. I went to deliver her to a meeting, to a group of women that she met with to pursue and promote Lynn's Warriors and her activity. It is a 24/7 job like I've never seen. And there are people who have such an absolute, I don't know what the word is, like a disinterest when it comes to children. Children is when I lose it. I lose it. I cannot. Certain things break my heart. Certain things kill me. There's a YouTube channel called Dodo or something. It's about dogs. And there's this Cane Corso, this dog, 150-pound dog. That was, it almost makes me cry when I say this. It's so beautiful. The mother, the wife, was pregnant, and the dog, and dogs know this. Dogs know this. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but dogs can tell when ladies are pregnant. It's the weirdest thing. It's something almost primordial. And they listen and they feel and they can smell and scent. So anyway, this baby's born, this little baby. And they're thinking, oh, sure. They got this 150. This dog can take down wolves. And he sees this baby and just loves it. And they sit together and they watch. And the baby, first time it walked to the dog, not to the parents. Because there's a connection that animals have with dogs, or babies have. People have a dog. Dogs are like another. They're better than humans. They're better than humans. And it breaks it kills me. It just kills me. And when people hurt animals, you have no idea. I just go crazy. I'm not a big animal. I mean, I love animals, but but I'm not stupid about this. But when you hurt an animal, or it's like, this is so sick. I don't want to get into what if you eat it? I'm not into that. But children, I go nuts. Little babies and your own, I can't function. My justice is just shredding them like pulled pork. You know what I mean? So anyway, please follow Lynn's Warriors on YouTube at Lynn's Warriors, LYNNS Warriors. There's apostrophe, but Lynn's Warriors, LYNN apostrophe S. She's doing yeoman's work, God's work to spread, but not only that, she wants to spread the word of powerful women and to get away from this frivolity and this hypersexualized nonsense that some women, I'm sorry, some women, that's all they know. Our good friend Sparky says, Trayvon Martin's murder was ignored by the first couple of months. Justice system hoped his parents would give up, but they persisted. His stalker got away with it, but the case almost didn't happen. You know what? I'm so glad you brought that up. And thank you for that. Thank you for that, Sparky. Let me explain this to you. Do you remember the Trayvon Martin case? Remember George Zimmerman? Remember that one? Remember this one? Remember? Do you want to hear the facts of the case? How many of you think George Zimmerman should not have been acquitted. Or should have been, I don't even know what that question is. Should he have been convicted of murder? And the first thing, I now remember this. They looked at that. First, they showed the little, remember the picture they showed? Remember the picture they showed? Remember the picture they showed of this kid, little baby, like a young man, wearing little mortarboard. Remember that? Little graduation? And I thought, get that sick bastard. Who did this? Anyway. Remember that? Okay. It's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Now, during the course of this, the evidence showed, and based upon Florida standard ground law number, Trayvon Martin went for his gun. George Zimmerman was testifying. Now, granted, he's the only one there. But he had his gun, and he could feel that shirt move up, and he saw that gun. And according to George Zimmerman, he said he was going to take that gun from me. And maybe I shouldn't have been investigating him. Maybe I shouldn't have been playing cop. Maybe I should not. But I'm kind of wondering, who is this guy? Why is he here? But during this tussle, he testified that Trayvon Martin was going for that gun, and he shot him to protect himself. Now, you may not like that. Zimmerman may have been a jerk. He may have been a real jadrul in real life. I don't know. But that's what happened. That's the unrebutted, unrefuted facts of the case. Was justice had? Yes. Under the laws. Stand your ground may be wrong, whatever it is, but under the law of the state of Florida at the time, absolutely, positively. That's it. Absolutely. But people were not able to do so because they thought this is racial, this is racist, and I'm not about to argue with them. But here is the thing: we are a country of laws, and the laws say certain things, and sometimes those laws make no sense at all. Period. End of discussion. You may not like them, you may not care for them. These laws may make no sense to you whatsoever. But I'm telling you, that doesn't matter. It's what the laws say. Why do you think there's a law that says they used to have 28 grams, which is an ounce, is felony cocaine? Minimum mandatory. No, not felony, trafficking, 28 grams. Trafficking. That's bizarre. That's the way it is. Grand theft law, $300 a lot of times. Grand theft law in some states, if you steal, I know in Florida years ago, if you steal a fire extinguisher, a firearm, 1,000 pieces of citrus, a cow. What? Is that fair? That's the law. Change the law. Change it. You want to change the BMI? How many of you done the BMI 20, 25? I don't even know what it is. You're obese if you're 20, 25. Change it. You don't like it? Change it. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm never going to lie to you. But I want President Trump to win. I want re-election. And Governor Kemp, it's up to you. Because I believe, unless I'm completely mistaken, you have the ability to remove that prosecutor. Not under conflict of interest. Sparky, thank you, my friend. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful brilliance. Your brilliance, all of you, dear friends, is wonderful. Please follow Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. And now tonight, at maybe 8 o'clock, I have a late arrangement. Mrs. L and I may have to attend to. So we're looking at probably 8 o'clock tonight. So in any event, subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed now. Make sure you are subscribed and that you have not been unsubscribed to Lionel Nation right this moment. And make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. Okay? You like that? Oh, that's a good one. And don't forget, setting your clocks back, up, forward, whatever it is today, daylight saving. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. See you tonight at 8 p.m., I believe. And until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.